this session, we are actually going to look into beginner projects. So we're going to look at project from as a beginner and how the kind of projects you can actually work on to have good grasp on the Python language. So first thing we're going to do is you're going to create a folder so we can be on a desktop or anywhere, and we're going to create a file as main.py. So this main.py file is what we're going to use to actually uh, work on the simple projects we're going to be working on. So let me try and increase the view so you can see that you can trying to see if I could make it a bit bigger. I did it last time, but I think I forgot how it's done. Just to make the page a bit bigger. Um, okay, let me check appearance and let me check the color line. I think I can't do that. Let me try again. I've done this before. Just okay. Okay, I think it's hidden. So okay, so let me try and use them. Control plus. Yep, that's it. Yeah, so it makes it a bit bigger. Yeah, great. So that is what we got. So first of all, let's start with some of the smallest project first, like project with small code, less code. Then later on, we can now go on to project with more code. So it's kind of starting from the start, building smaller projects from the start. I think we've actually talked about some of the cool things we can do at the start. So in this instance, we're going to start by visualizing what we want to write, the kind of code or the kind of project we want to work on. So what we can do is by first of all writing our ideas in there. So start by stating the ideas or the projects we want to work on, and we can start with that. So we can write something we call pseudocode. Sorry, something we call pseudocode. Pseudocode is more like jotting down your ideas on how you want your project to look like, and you can write that. So in this instance, you're going to use comments to write the pseudocode. So in that, you know how to write comment in Python. So we use the hash keyword to write comments. So this is going to be a program. Let's say a program for like counting words. Alright, so something like this. So what we're going to write is a program for counting words, and it should have something like maybe input, maybe an input session, or maybe the user should have user input session. The user should be able to input something, so that they can count the words. So yeah, I think it's together. Yeah, and we should also be able to have something like where we can split the words. So maybe we can split the words and such that when it's going to count, it's going to count by looking at the different words. So based on whatever we put on, it's going to count those words. So maybe you can have like maybe a sentence or a lot of words, and it's going to count those words. So you have to have a section where the words are going to be split so that it can pick up, just like when we're writing in Word, and it's going to count the number of words we have in our spreadsheet or Word document. So this is an example. So this program is actually going to count the number of words we type. It's going to count them and then give us the total amount. So we should have an option where the words are going to be split. So we're going to have something like split. So split the sentence into words. Okay. Alright, so we can have something like this. Then we can also have the count number of words or something. So we can also have an option where the number of words can be counted. So okay, so let's do something like that as well. So let's come here and let's give um, to count to count number of words. Okay, I think basically that is it. If we get to a point where we're going to do something, we can also come back to it. So you see now all that we're going to do is we write in a simple program that could count words, and we have to put input the words that we wanted to count, and it's going to split the words or the sentence we put over there, and then it's going to count the number of words we type. So based on the number of words we type. So that's what we're trying to do. So I think the first thing is to deal with this part. So this is what we program we're going to write. So the first thing we're going to need is to input the words. So how do we come by this? So it means in Python, one easy way we can go by is to use variable and use a function called input function. So we're going to come here and create a variable, a sentence. So this is the name of the variable, and this variable is going to have the input, this input. So as soon as we begin to type, it tells us that this input function here takes up a prompt in an object, and within this object is where we can actually state the value. So you say that to read string from standard input, the trailing new line is stripped. So this takes up the prompt, a string, and if given, it prints to standard output without a trailing new line before. So you can see that it actually kind of gives us a little information about it. So if you want to use this function, when you put your cursor on it like this, you see that it gives you a little information about it. But this is like actually a cool function that you can actually use to print words in Python. So this is what we're actually going to use. And the next thing we're going to do is now we're going to open a bracket like this. Inside this bracket, we're actually going to put up a prompt, or we're going to put up a note as to what it should do. So we're going to, it should be in a string form. So we're going to put it inside a string like this, inside a quotation like this. And in this quotation, we're going to say, let's say, enter something, enter a word, or sentence, enter sentence. Because the sentence is what we're actually going to count. So we need to enter a sentence, and we need to bring here this final key and give some space. So the space actually helps Python to know that, or helps us not to count our words here. So this is how we're going to go by it. And next thing we're going to do is to split. So we also said that we're also going to split the sentence into words. So let's also look at how we can actually write a split section. So it means this is to help us input the sentence. So this line of code will help us help the user to input a sentence. And now we're going to actually split the sentence or the words we put in the sentence into sections so that we can actually count, or the program can count. So we're going to use another function, and this function is going to help us split. So it's going to be, we're going to make reference to. So now that we talk about the words, so this words will give us to be equal to sentence. The sentence is the variable which actually creates here. That is what we're talking about. So we say that whenever the words are typed, it should pick up these words we're saying, we're making up giving up this word as a variable to pick up whenever this variable is run, it should actually help us to split. So you can see that as soon as we state that, it gives us the split keyword. It also has other options. You can either use capitalize if you want to capitalize whatever is entered up there, or you want to center, you want to encode and switch, like find so many options up there. But in this instance, we're using split, so that's what we are going to do, and that's what we did here. So what we need to do next is to bring these two brackets here to tell that there's going to be something, or there's going to be words coming, and this we want you to split it. So this is how we actually end this, and you can see that it shows us this is an option that we can do, and it actually tells us, gives us a lot of other support element in here telling us that you can use the split function to also enter strings. You can use for maximum split. Also, it will return a list of substrings in the string, and using sep as a separator, you can also use the sep keyword as well, so that to separate them. In this instance, we wanted to split up, so maybe if it's going to be like I am 5 years old, so it's going to be the I am is going to be one word, 5 years, 5 and years are also going to be separate words, so it's going to split them in that kind of order, right? So that is how we actually going to split this. So the next thing is to then let's give some space here. So the next thing we want to do is to also um, to count the number of words. So we're going to create another function to create that. All right. So here we're going to bring here, going to introduce, create another variable. So let's say it could be count. All right. Or we can even use more of like, we can make it like maybe word count like this. So this function help us to count. So this word count, we're going this variable is going to be equal to, so we're going to use this length function. This length function will help us to actually make reference to the words we've created up there. So you see that we have these words here. This variable is what we're making reference to right here. This length is also a function that you can use to count the number of words we have. So length actually helps us to it helps us to introduce objects and sized as well. It actually is as an int type. So that is the function we're actually using here. We're going to use this to actually count the number of words we put inside. So it means whatever we enter here is going to say that, okay, this words, which is a sentence per this, has been created, and as such, this is the total amount. So this is going to help us count that. All right. So now that we've stated this, so it means this is all we actually writing. We're writing the section to help us the user to input the sentence. Then the next one is to split the sentence. The next one is to count the number of words. So means this is how it is, and it's very simple line of code. So the next thing we're going to do is to run or to print this on the console. So if we come here, we're going to bring the print statement, print function, and this print function we're going to use the elf function, and this here is a very powerful function. It's going to help us to print now. So we're going to say that um, let's put in a simple sentence like maybe this sentence has, so let's say has or something. Yes, it means we're talking about has number of, so I think the sentence was spelled well. Okay, so say this sentence has like, or maybe contains something. Contains. So it contains, it means you're talking about the number of words it has. So, and in here, we're going to bring here this curly bracket. This curly bracket is what is going to, we're going to bring this count, word count in here. So we're going to bring this word count. This word count is the variable that is helping us count the words. So now we bring this variable in here, and then what we're going to do is to make reference to the words. So this will help us count the number of words. So we're just going to say that this sentence contains, maybe then it means how many words. So it means when the words are counted, you say it contains maybe 10 words or something. So we're going to bring here words just for us to know that we're actually talking about words. So it means this is going to tell us how many words was typed after this function has actually counted the number of words that has been typed here. So you've seen that this is actually a very simple program that is help us to count words. And so if you run this program, what it's going to do is it's going to ask us to enter some details or some sentence here, and then the sentence is going to be split into sections, or like you're going to split, and this variable will going to allow this function to count the number of words. So now let's run this program and let's see how it works. So you see that it comes here and it says enter a sentence. So let's say um, um, sorry. So let me actually use terminal, right? So Python name.py. All right. So now you see that it comes into a sentence. So now I can just come here and say Sam is 25 years old. All right. So this is simple. So you see that it's at the end of the day, I print Sam is 25 years. So say this sentence contains 5 words. So you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. All right. So that is how easy it is seen. So this program helps us to just count words. That's very simple. So if you should refresh this, you can run it again to see. Let's see if we enter more words now. So now we can have like the last time on this interactive Python session, we discussed functions. All right. All right. So something like this. This is a long sentence, but let's see. So you say that this sentence contains 12 words. So you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 words. Yes. So this is a simple program that actually allows us to count words. So you see how easy it is. In just 4 lines of code, we could actually write a simple program as cool as this, which can actually do this amazing stuff. So if you're trying to teach kids with um, at the early stage of Python, this could be some of the cool programs you can actually use to teach them, and you also help you to know how you can actually write simple programs with Python. This also helps you to build hands-on experience with Python as you go on. So the next one we're going to look at something like maybe a stopwatch or stopwatch program. So this is also very simple code. So let me create a different file here, and let me put that on it. So this is also going to be app.py. Okay, so this in here as well. We're going to use a pseudocode to also explain this. All right, so this, what we're going to do is this is a stopwatch. This will be a simple stopwatch. Yes, yeah, a simple stopwatch to measure maybe time lapse. So this is actually also going to be simple, and it's going to actually measure time lapse. So as a time lapse, it's going to tell us how long we were on the time, or how long we stood on the time. So with this, we're going to import a library in Python. It's a module in Python called time. So we're going to import this. So time, this first one, this is actually an inbuilt module in Python that you can actually import. So you can see that when bringing on, it tells us that this module provides various functions to manipulate time values, and there are two standards representation in time. So this is actually for time. If you want to manipulate time, you want to use time in your project, this is a module you can use, and there's a lot of documentation on this. You can read more on it later on. So um, this is what you need to be able to write this simple project. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a simple function, the print function. This print function is actually going to gives us the opportunity to look at this simple time watch kind of introduction. So I'm going to bring this print. So inside here we're going to say, hey, welcome to our stopwatch. Yeah, so that's it. So this is how it is, and it's very easy. So the next thing we're going to do is to actually use our input function once more. So remember when we use it earlier. So with this, you're going to make an input, this particular one. All right. So for this input, then we're going to have um, opportunity to be able to enter some details. So here we're going to say maybe um, press to start time. Just like stopwatch works, you need to press the time for it to start working. So here we're going to press to start the time, and this is how we're going to. So it means it's going to give us the opportunity to actually press and then start the time. So what we're going to do is to introduce the is to let me I keep going. Okay, so it's to create a variable that is going to help us introduce a time function. So here we're going to do like maybe start time, and you can see that it even gives us, because using auto address, so it's going to help us. It even gives us the simple syntax that we need, and it's very easy. So here time.time, and this is actually a function that helps us to um, create the start time at the start. So you've seen that this variable here helps us to actually introduce this function from the model that helps us to now display the time that you're going to need in this instance. So this will also help us to start the time, and then as the time goes on, as long as we stay on or how long we use it, it's going to show us how much time we spent on that. And we're also going to bring another input function here. So we're going to bring this one here once more. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to use it here again. And this, we're going to say that, okay, so the first one was press to start time. This would be press to stop time. All right, so we're going to say press to stop. All right, so it means that we're going to have to stop the time. So it means in this, we're going to also bring another variable that will help us to stop the time. And this variable, we're going to call it end time. This end time will be equal to the same function created after time dot time. Okay, so now we start the time, and this will help us to stop the time. So we're going to use a time elapse. That is, we're going to use the time elapse function to do that. So here, when we come here, we're going to introduce that. So this here is elapse, how long we stayed on it, how long we were on, so that it counts. So we're going to bring this variable time lapse. We can see that it actually gives me a pre-suggestion, asking like, do I want to do something like this? Do I want to type? So if that's what I want to do, I can easily just accept it, as you can see, and it gives me that auto lapse now. So what it does is actually gives me, because I import this module now, my editor IDE actually understands what I intend to write, and it helps me generate the code straight away. So sometimes it might give you wrong code, so you need to be careful about that. That if you know if it's the right code, you can just accept it and it's going to print it for you, and you're good to go. So we're going to use this function here, this variable, to create this end time minus start time. So this is the start time we created. This is the end time. So now we're going to take the end time, the start time from end time to get the elapsed time, and this is like simple arithmetic calculations in this instance. So this is just a simple example of what we're going to do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to introduce the print function. This print function will help us to actually talk about the lapse time. So it means this is the lapse time. We're going to print the lapse time by making reference to this end time and the start time that we actually start. So when we come here, just going to bring here this print function, and in here we're going to say that, okay, so elapsed time, which is what we created up there. So elapsed time, as we have. So this elapsed time is equal to, we'll make reference to the elapsed time to the, so we're going to introduce this function. This f function actually comes with Python 3. So previous Python, you were not going to do that by Python 3. So if you use Python 3, you may want to bring it. It's very powerful and you want to work with it. So you can see that when you bring your cursor on it, or when you select it, it's going to tell you a bit about it, or you can read documentation on that. So yeah, that's just a bit on that. So also let me the next thing we're going to do is talk about the lapse time, and we're going to also talk about the seconds, or we can talk about the minutes involved, or how long we stayed on after we run the code. So let's come here and let's give it the elapsed time, which is what we created over there. So what we're going to do is we need to put this in curly bracket like this. So let me just make this simple, like elapsed time. So this doesn't become the same as what we have. So this will be, okay, so this will be elapsed time. So that this will be different from that. So here, we're going to copy this, and that's what we're going to put into this bracket. All right. So put into this bracket. All right. And this, we're going to talk about how long it should be, how long this what is the lapse time. It should be 2 seconds, it should be 3 seconds. We can do that. So here we're going to put here, okay, maybe it should be 2. Ask how long is going to be 2 times a second. So it means here we can put in seconds. All right, so just like it's done for me, it's giving me that already. So this is to tell that at the end of the day, how long you're going to lapse. The time elapsed will be the time elapsed by 2. So it means it's going to be multiplied by 2, or count divisible by 2. We already know that time elapsed is end time minus start time. So we know that start time, this is end time. This is what's going to help us. So if you should run this, it's going to actually, how long we stay on is what will help us to determine the time elapsed. So let's run this code. Let's come here and write after pi run this is similar. So welcome to our watch. Press to start. So if I press start, say, so it means asking to how long I stay on this will tell the lapse time how long I was on. So if I should press on, and right now you see that it tells me lapse time was 10.8 and 22 seconds. So this is how long we stayed on, and you can see that by this we can easily set a timer. So with these few lines of code, we actually set a timer to show us how we can actually um, manipulate or deal with Python. So if you should run this again, if you stay on for a long time, it means that the time elapsed to be a bit bigger. So let's run this once more. So we say welcome to our stopwatch, and I say press to start. So now, as long as we stay on and we don't end it, as how longer it takes, it's going to print that for us as well. So this is another simple program that you can actually practice on, work your hands on to actually have good grasp of the Python program. So you can see that what we did was actually we imported the time module, and we actually write a print function. This print function helps us to kind of introduce our code. So here you can say that this help us introduce our program. Introduce our program. All right, and this here was to this this helped us. Okay, yes, helped us to start our watch. All right, and this one here, this was the function that actually helps us to do that. So this is the start time, this is the end time. So yeah, so I mean, normally you love to put some comments around it to help you, and this function also helps us to start our watch and our watch. All right, so you can see that this is what we have right here. So we've still not been waiting for a while. We've still not pressed to stop the time. So if you should press it now, now you can see that probably. So yeah, let me bring it. Yeah, okay, so, okay. So now if you press it now, see now it lasted for a long time. This is the seconds we actually stayed on right now on this project. So you see now this is a simple way to actually write simple project on um, simple project in Python that you can actually use to learn Python. All right, so this is one of the cool projects. So let's look at the more complex project that we can actually use. In this instance, we're going to do a simple to-do list. Not very complex, but it's a bit simple. Just that it takes, we're going to write a bit of more code than we've done. So in here, let me create another file to make this to-do list py. Okay, so this is a to-do list part, and with this, we are going to write a simple to-do list. Okay, so this would be a simple to-do list. So this simple to-do list will actually help us to actually schedule or add or take some few to-do stuffs out. So as soon as I write this, it tells me, oh, you're trying to write a to-do list, and this is our auto suggest that I can actually decide to accept or not. So, but so this is how cool it is with this ID. It's a plugin that I actually installed that you can use. Okay, so what I can do is now is yes, I'm actually going to use to-do list. So I'm going to introduce this because it'll help me to actually well organize or put my um, in a list, put my to-do list in a list format. So you can see that this is actually a variable. So this is a variable. You can make it, you can change the name or give any kind of name to it at all. So it can be any name at all. So this is it's not by compulsion to use this. You can use any name, but you because I'm going to create a list. So I bring this bracket. This is how we create a list. But so let me put in a comment here so we know what we're doing right now. So this is to um, so before that, let me write a pseudo code so that it will help us to guide us for us to know what we're actually doing. So with this here, what we're going to do in this to do this is we're going to first of all initialize an empty list. So this empty list is what will help us to know that as soon as our program starts, it will give us opportunity to enter or to uh, list of to-do items that we want to do. The next one is we're going to also do something like maybe so on a to-do list, I think after initializing, what we do is probably loop through to see whatever we put in there. So we're going to have um, loop of to-do items. Okay, so and we're also going to have what else are we even going to have? So we're also going to have maybe um, list of to-do items. Yeah, we already have list of. So yes, list of to-do. Let's say add to-do items. Add and remove because we're also going to remove. So we're also going to have another option to remove to-do item. Remember, this is actually a console app, so it means everything is going to show in our console here. So whatever we do from this app is going to show on our console, right? So it means the first thing is we are talking about initializing the empty list. So this is the empty list we actually have here. So let me copy that and put it in here so they can see exactly what we're doing. So this is the empty list we actually need for now. The next thing is we're going to look at the loop of to-do items. So we're going to create functions that will help us to actually initialize this. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a function. So to create a function in Python, we bring this keyword. We have this. It will help us to create a function, just like we know already. So this will help us to create a function. So with this function, and then we're going to now introduce the name of the function. So this will be show. That's the name of the function we're creating. So show tasks. All right. And within the show task, this function ends by reintroducing this and then bringing out this right here. So this is how we create function in Python. You can see that we bring the keyword define, which is shortened as that, and we bring the name of the function and we bring here these two curly brackets and we end with these two dots. All right, so this is how we create a function in Python. But if you create a function like this, if you're not going to put in any keyword or if you're not going to put in any argument yet, or you're not going to pass any other element, you can just bring here pass. Here then it means Python will be able to execute this function, or else you need to bring you need to state the next or return value that is going to return. So it means we need to return something after creating this function. So what we're going to return is to now introduce what we want this function to do. So we're going to have here to do a simple if analysis. This if analysis or this if condition will help us to look through to see if we have if we have our to-do list is empty, if we need to put in or have we added anything to our to-do list, do we need to take some things out. This is how we're going to do. So this will help us to do that from the start. Then it will also help us to actually um, add some of the things we will need, some of the to-do items on there. So I think this this option will also be, we can also, this is what we are going to do in this instance. So we're going to show, we're going to print this if condition here. So let me copy this. So this condition is what we're going to put in here. So here we're going to put in this condition, which will help us to actually um, add items, remove items. It's also going to be in there, and also see if our to-do list is empty. So let's do it right now. Let's bring here if, this if, but as soon as we bring this if, it means the next thing you're going to do is to add whatever we need to do to make sure that we can check to see if our to-do is empty or it's not. So we're going to bring it if not to-do list. To-do list we are mentioning here is this to-do list we actually created. So it means if not this to-do list. Alright. So it means you're saying that if not this to-do list, that is to say that if it's empty or not. Alright. So if it's not empty, or the to-do list, if we're saying that if it's not empty, then it means that we can literally remove what is there if we want to add more, or we can add some, or whatever we want to do. So we say that with this, it's not empty. So what we can do is to come here and then we introduce the print function here. This print function will help us to actually print a statement that will do if this is actually executed. So here we come here and we bring this to string here and say, we can see that our to-do list is empty. So it means we're saying that this to-do list we actually before the start is empty. There's nothing in there. So it means that if there's nothing in there, then we can add something. So we can also say else if it's not empty. So we come here and then we add else. So in Python, actually, indentation is very important. So it means that if I should bring this here, this print function here, it's going to cause problems. So you've seen that it underlines it, but if you take it back, Python understands that this actually falls on that. Just like we have for this as well, needs to be indented from the main function, and that is how Python works. So it means the else as well needs to start from this condition where it starts. So it means this else is where we're going to actually say that else if it's not empty. So it means we come here, we're going to introduce another print function. So here we're going to bring here this print function. Inside this print function, we're going to now say that your to-do list could have other stuff, or we can say that we have to add something. All right, so we can say that so else out your to-do list. So since we don't know if it's empty or not, that is why I want to go through the else. So seeing that to-do list is empty, else if it's not empty, else is not empty. So that is we're not sure if it's empty or not, because when as the program runs, it's going to look through all of these iterations and then it's going to give us the conditions. So else if it's not empty, then we can say that okay, we can now rate this. So we can just come here. So let's put in some space here, all right, so that we can actually have some space to type. So this else is not empty. Then for this IDH, so this IDH you put in here because it tell us from index. So this is actually we're going to use this to indicate by making reference to the task in H. So in this, we're going to say that going to bring this bracket, comma here. I'll say that task in enumerate. So you see that it even gives me this option right here. So enumerate actually helps me to run through. Let me just accept that. Helps me to run through um, the first if statement and then to this else without going through a whole bunch of lists. So this makes it even simple for me. So here I'm going to add the to start at 1. So it means that I should start at the existing um, to do item in there. So it means you start at 1. And here I'm going to say that, okay, so if not now, it can actually look at this index and then the task and then rate it and then print it out for me. Oh, so it means I can come here and bring a print statement to say that inside this print statement should by introducing this function, so this format this function, then this will help me to actually introduce um, this idx that I introduced. All right, here I'm going to bring it here. All right, so it means this is what it's going to look. This is going to look through this to see if whatever I'm saying over here, if it's not, if this list is empty, then, or if the list is not empty, then it's going to pick it and then it comes here and say, okay, then it can ask me if I want to add some tasks. So here I'm going to indicate here task. This task is what I've stated here. All right, so it means at the end of the day, this task as well should also be in a curly bracket. So let me bring here this curly bracket. All right, so saying that now it's going to ask me to add a task or to check up the tags available in there. So it means if this is not empty, and it means that it gives me the option to say, oh, this is not empty, there is one value or there is one um, to do item in there. So it's going to check that. So I'm getting some errors here. So let me see. Um, okay, so I'm going to solve that later on. So okay, so yeah, I think I forget to bring comma here. So yeah, so it means this to-do list and where it starts means it's going to check whatever is in there. All right. So yeah. So the next thing to do is that I'm going to also now say that, okay, since there is my to-do list is not empty, it means there's one or more task in there. So it means that it's going to print that task. If not, then it means that I can also have another function that is going to help me now add the task. So it means if it's empty, it means that it literally is going to not utilize this else, and it's just going to go straight to ask me to add a task. So it means I have to create a function that is going to help me add a task. All right, so here I'll come here and create another function, and this function will help me add a task. Okay, so we say that, so it means going to add this will help me to add new task. All right, all right. So it means this function will help me add new task. So it means I'm going to bring this add task. So this task, I'm going to introduce um, the task to write. So here I'll come. So I need to bring this here to actually and the writing for this function. The next thing is to come and introduce how this task will be added. How do I add this task? What do I need to do to be able to add a task? After I've looked through to see if my list is empty or not, then I can now add task. So what I can do is to introduce our input function. So if you remember our input, yeah. So this here will help me to add a task. So this input, I'm going to make reference to this input here but I'm going to assign it to a variable. So it's going to be task because so the task is this tax we actually introduced from here. All right, so we're going to say that now we can add a tax. So this tax will be here, will be input, and I'm going to state here enter some task. All right, so now it's going to now give me the opportunity to enter some tax. Supposedly we don't have any tax in there. All right, so let me make it more space here. So now it means that we can now add a new task in here to in our program. So let's come here to try out what we've written so far. So here, let's say Python to-do list for 5. All right, so you can see that. Okay, so it literally doesn't do a lot right now. So it means that we will add some stuff more, and we can actually do something. So the next thing we can do is, now that we've seen asked about what um, how you can add a task. So we're saying that you can add a task, but you need to, there's a function in Python that helps us to actually add a task, and it's called append. So we come here and then we introduce that append. So it means to-do list. This to-do list is the variable we introduced here earlier. So that's what we're making reference to here again. So here we're going to say this to-do list is equal to, or we're going to append and make reference to that. So you see, as soon as we put it there, it gives me all this option to append, pop, reverse, index, remove, and all of that. This is all functions that I can actually use in this instance. So I'm going to use this append. This append will help me to know what I want to do. So I want to add a task. So I put this bracket, then I put the task. So it means saying I want to add this task. So it's going to help me add a task. And then I'm going to now print. So here I'm going to bring print statement. This print statement will help me to actually make reference to the task. So it means I'll say tasks here, and I'll bring this curly bracket here. Inside this curly bracket, I'm going to bring task, and this task is a task that I've actually described from up there. So it means that it's going to tell me if the task has been added or not. So I could say that task added successfully. All right. Okay. So it means now I can say that whenever I run this. So I'm sure that now if you run this, it's going to give us some feedback. So let me come and run this here, because now I'm going to add a task, and I've actually put a print statement. So we've seen it now. Okay, so it's still can't run this. Okay, so yeah. So let me see what I'm missing. What list? So we just added a function to help us to add tasks. So we're also going to add another function to help us remove the task. And after that, we're going to have a main loop which will help us to actually loop through all of this to do that. So yeah, I think don't worry, when we get there, we're going to run the entire code and we're going to see how it is. And yeah, so now that we've added this task, so we started by introducing our if statement from here. This if statement actually helps us to add up the entire to add up this to be able to loop through and see if we have an empty. So whenever our program starts, it means it's going to loop through to see if we have anything listed on a task or not. Then if not, then we can now come and say, okay, enter some tasks, and when you do that, to be able to do that, we use this function to enter the task. So we see we introduce this append, help us to enter the task, and then when it's done, it's going to give us successfully. Now we're going to have another function. This will help us remove the task. All right. So we've seen that this will help us add new tags to help us remove the tags if we want to remove it from. Okay, so we're going to use this to help us to remove the task. All right. So now to be able to do that, we're going to do the same as we did here. So we can just copy this function and we can just use the same. So let me just copy this and just change the name. So let's copy this function, we create it here. All right, and just going to change the name here. So here, here we're going to say remove task. All right. So removing the task. So it's not here we actually added tags. Here removing the tags. And what we're going to do is if we want to remove tags, it means that we should be able to show the tags. All right. To be able to show whatever tags we have before we can remove. So we can bring this function we've created over here, the function name, that function name here. So we're going to implement this function name here. So this function name will help us to show the tasks we have actually added before we can remove. So if we don't have any tasks, we can't remove anything. So this function name will help us, this function will help us to show all the tasks that we actually input, and then we can remove. So we can also use a try catch. A try to see, the try will help us to check up the tags we have, and then or maybe the number of tags we have, and then to tell how many you want to remove or which one you want to remove. Which task is in task number one, task number two, right? So we're going to introduce this try. This try will help us to actually do that. So what it's going to do is going to give us opportunity to check out the task numbers. So task number, all right. So it means if it's going to be a number, then it means it's going to be an int. So we're going to introduce an int. And this int is going on with the int, it means we're going to introduce. So you can see that it even gives me the option, so I can just click on that, and how cool it is. That's cool, right? So it means if I introduce this int, I'm going to be able to put the number or the number of the task that I want to remove. So the input function gives me that opportunity to do that. So you enter some number or enter task number in there. And now I can actually do that. So let me bring this back in here. So this is how I can actually select task. So it means enter task number, and let me say to remove. So yeah, now I'm talking about the task number that I want to remove. So I bring this bracket into space here to help me actually enter the number or the task number. So because of this, I need to bring an extra bracket here. All right, so this will help me to actually now enter the task that I want to remove and remove as such. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to now add a remove function that can actually, so it means I'm going to pass out parameters for this function that we had, so that I can now remove it. So this method will help us to remove that. So it means what I'm going to do is to now come here and say remove task. This remove task I created from the early. So remove task is equal to do list. This to do list dot remove. So which is the first one we actually did use append. So we can use remove or pop. So pop is also another cool. So with pop helps you to remove and return item at index. So as you can see, it helps us to remove a particular item at index, and this is what we're going to use in that instance. So the pop, and we're going to indicate here and talk about the task number. So task number is what we said here, that you should try and find us the task number. So it means you put the task number there, and the remove function is going to help us to pop that out. All right, so it means we're going to say that you help us to find a pop tax number. So it means tax number, and then we're going to take it out. So it means tax number could be the kind of number we have, the -1 to tell that that is what we actually taken out, or And then the next thing we're going to do is now we're going to print the text that we actually removed. So we're going to come here and say print in here, and we're going to make reference to the task, number. But to make a reference to that task number, we actually need to put it into brackets. So we say the task, and we bring this to curly bracket here, and this curly bracket is going to help us to make reference to the remove function. So we're going to bring here remove. All right, so now this will help us to actually remove the task we created. All right, the task we want to remove. So this will help us to remove it as such. And here we can just say that, okay, task removed successfully. Okay, so what we did was we make reference to this task to remove, and we say that, okay, so the task was removed successfully. So after the task has been removed, this message is going to print it for us. So it means it's going to say maybe task 1 removed successfully, or task 2 removed successfully, right? So that is why we have this. So that is how it is, and it's cool, right? So supposedly maybe there's no task to remove, then it means that we have to go to a set. So with this also has to, we have to count indent it. So we come to a set. So except maybe there is nothing like that, then it means we have to, there's no text to remove, then it means you have to come here and make reference to it. So we try to check through the text number to remove, and if there is any, then it's going to pop it out, and then you say that it's removed successfully. If it's not, then it means except it's not, there's nothing, so it means we bring here, we come here to make reference to an index error. So this index error. All right, so we say that I think the index error. Supposedly, maybe we enter wrong number, or we enter something more than that. So it's going to be an index error, and we're also going to use value error. Means maybe the value is not the same. There's option where we can also use type error, but we're not actually going to use that right now. So it means it could be index error or value error, and this we're going to now say, okay, so now I should print, if it's an index error, print index number, or invalid text number if we should type a wrong number, right? So here we're going to say print invalid text number. All right, so it means we actually printing the invalid after maybe if it's trying to go through. So before this remove is done, it's going to show us all the tags we have, and then we're going to try to go through by we entering a number that we want to remove, and we're going to ask this remove that out, and then it's going to say successfully. If not, supposedly we enter the wrong number, then it's going to say there's an index error and a value error, and as such invalid number. Right. So that is how it's going to be done in this instance. So it means that at this point we've talked about the entire remove option. So we've seen that this function here helps us to add the tasks, and this function helps us to remove the tags after we've seen all the tags we have on our to-do list, and then it removes it for us. And then the next thing we're going to do is to now we're going to write a while true, so or kind of main loop session where we're going to look at the to-do list manager to show us all the to-do items we have, and also to show us all the ones we can remove or remove, and then we can also choose various to do items in there. So the next, what we're going to do is the final part of the program. So here we talked about the remove to-do list items. So what is left with is the loop session. So this loop session, or what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, while what is above there is true, while everything is true up there. So while we were able to look through and remove everything, now we can also look at the next option. So the cool thing is you can see that this plugin actually helps me to print out the entire code. So as you can see that actually gives me the suggestion of the entire code as to what I can do. But sometimes, even though it might be error, so you might have to be careful when you're trying to use such auto suggestions. All right, so you can see that these are auto suggestions. So if I look through and is in order as in how I want it, I can just select accept or not, and then I can just write my code from scratch. But looking at it, yeah, I think I'm going to print a to-do list to show and want to add a task. So print one here to show the task, two to add a task, three to remove the task, four to quit, and the choices will be equal to the input or enter your choice. So this section on how to enter the choice. So one will be to remove, so it means I can just select accept, and great, it does that for me. So what it does is here I'm going to print the options. So and this options is going to be on a new line, and it's going to say that okay, these are the options that you have. So one will help you to remove the tax, two will help you to add the tax, three is to remove um, one was to show, sorry, three is to remove the tax, and four is to quit. So here choice is this choice will help us. This is a choice, a variable is what we're using to represent to input or enter the choice you want. So it means that enter any of this choice here. And if the choice is not equal to 1, so it means it's equal to 1, then it means that it's going to show the tax because we say 1 should show the tax. And if else if the choice is equal to 2, means this we say that 2 should help us add tax. It means that we can add a task. So it means it's going to make reference to the tax add tax function we created up there. Else choose 3, so it means choose 3 means you remove a tax, so it means it's going to make reference to the remove function we created up there. Else if choice is 4, it means we quit, so it means that it's going to break. So this is a simple while loop that we actually use in this instance. This while loop actually helps us to um, go through all these different iterations to check through if we want to either show a task, want to add a task, remove a task, or quit. And you can manipulate it any way, any best way you think will work for you. So you can decide to bring one first or two second, and so on and so forth, and you're good to go. So the cool thing is this makes it very easy for you us to loop through all these functions. So it means what we have here is we first of all we initialize an empty array, and then we came here to create a function that will help us to show any um, any task we have added or any task we're about to add on our to-do list, and we introduce an if statement which helps us to go through our task or our program to see if we have any um, to-do items or if it is empty. Else we can print the list on there, or else we can now come to this enumerate to help us to go through the to-do list to see if we have one, and it should count, it should indicate it based on the task and the index as such. And then we came here to say that supposedly there is no task, or maybe we want to add a new task, we can use this function to create a new task. So we define this function and bring this variable, and then we say that we can now input some task, and then we brought that variable that helps us to append the task, and then we print that the task has been added successfully. Then we came here to say this will help us remove the task. So here we created this function that will help us remove the task. You see that this function helps us to remove the task, but first of all helping us show the task we have created over there. So it's going to help us to try to see if the tax we want to remove is in line, and if it is, then we can remove it, or else it's going to say there's an index error. We came here to say that this loop to help us loop through the various items. So here we loop through the items. So it's a while true. While all of these are true, do we want to um, show the task? Do we want to add a task? Do we want to remove a task or quit? And so any of them we select is going to now give us the function that we need to select or we need to implement to be able to do that. So this is our to-do list, and this is how simple it is. So now we can actually come here and run our to-do list. Let me see if I actually typed it well. Yes, so this to-do list apply. So now we should run this now. Now we see that it gives us the choices here. So we see now it prints all the options. These options we have, and it says show task, add tags, remove tags. So it means we're going to select one, and if there's any tags, it's going to show for us. So now when I select the one, it tells me, brings me to the same because I don't have any tags to show. But if I just select two, then it's going to allow me now to add some tags. So now I'm going to add some tags. So um, Python automation. All right, so now I add this task now. So you see that it shows me task Python automation added successfully. I can add another task, like let me say two again. I can add as a coding session. All right, now it's saying that it tells me that task coding session added successfully. Now if I want to show my task, now I can go and show all the tasks I have. So it shows me Python automation coding session. These are all the two tags I've added. So if I want to remove any of these tags, let's say I can say I can now go on to say 3, remove my tags. So it means now 3 is list is not empty. So it means list is not empty. Okay, so this is where we put in the list is not here. List is not empty. So I think this should be something like um, not in the list, something like that. Yeah, not in the list. All right. Okay, it's not going to show now, so maybe later on. Yeah. So then I can now remove any of the tags. So now I want to actually remove tax 1. Okay. So it means that now my first tag, so it tells me tax removed. So it means tax removed. So now let me see if I want to show my tax. So you see that it only shows me the coding session. So it means tax is removed in that order. So this is how cool it is. We can add new tags, we can take new tags off, and that is how. So we can also go on quit, and then we can just quit on the program. So that is another simple program we can actually look on Python. So you see that it helps us to learn. We're able to learn the list, how to declare an empty list. We're able to learn how to define functions, how to use some loops and if conditions and else as well. We're able to look at some while loop in here where we actually this while loop actually helps us to declare options and all of that. So this is how cool it is, and a little example on beginner projects that you can start working with Python. So see you on the next session of our video where we're actually going to talk about other things you can also do with Python and how easy it is to learn various Python um, projects by writing few lines of code and be able to build cool Python projects. See you on the next section of our video, and check out our video on introductory to Python full session. So this is a complete Python for beginners where you can learn where we actually go through the entire Python um, basics from various sections of Python basics that you need to know, from the data types to while loop, if conditions, and all of that. Check up on that video on the next section. Bye for now.